This week it's International Teach Music Week, and what's better than to ask the question, how do you write a song, to a music teacher who also releases his own music? Hi, hello.
Hello.
How are
Good
you?
afternoon. Good morning. I don't know what it is, but hi.
Afternoon. Hi. Could you first, introduce yourself quickly? Where are you from? What kind of music do you make?
Uh, yeah, sure. I'm Haitze de Vries. I'm 24 years old. I'm a music teacher on a high school. I teach music. I also give guitar lessons, but I'm a guitar player, singer-songwriter. I release my own music. It's a little bit alternative indie pop, I guess. Yeah, and that's what I do. I just graduated 1 year ago from the music education study, um, and I play the guitar for like almost my whole life. So
Cool, cool. So, because it's music geeks to music geeks now, what gear do you have? What guitars do you play?
I play a lot of guitars. Someone asked me yesterday how many guitars do you have? I have 14 guitars.
Oh,
That's quite a lot, I
yeah.
think. Uh, Mostly electric guitar, but I started playing classical guitar. Um, but I didn't like that very much. So one day, uh, my dad introduced me to the electric guitar, and it was like heaven. So I started playing electric guitar, and I teach high school class 1 and 2. So they just come from primary school. So young children.
Cool. Yeah. So let's talk about your writing process. Where do you start? What's the absolute beginning? Do you start with like voice messages of voice notes on your phone with ideas, or do you just write things down, or do you just start out of nothing?
Yeah, it depends. Mostly because I'm a guitar player, I like interpretate it guitar wise. So most of the time it starts with a guitar thing, so a chordal thing or a melody on a guitar, and that's most of the time the start. But when I studied, I traveled a lot, so it was a lot of the time traveling by train, and that was the moment uh, I used the voice notes on the phone a lot of times, because when a melody popped in my head, I didn't have a guitar to figure it out and work it all out. So I have a lot of awkward guitar of voice memos on my telephone, and it's also an awkward situation because a lot of people in the train are like, "What's he doing? Who is he calling with?" It's weird because I'm humming in my phone, but yeah.
Yeah.
So or on a guitar or on yeah, a melody popping into my head. So
Yeah. And do you, for example, always keep instruments near your bed in case inspiration strikes when you sleep?
no, that's where the voice notes are for, I
Okay.
think, because I could do that, but I think that cost me a lot of sleep time.
I think so too. I think so too. So at some point you start like really writing a song. When and where do you write those songs? Do you like set a certain time and say then and then I'm going to write songs for this long, or is it just like I want to make music now, let's make music?
Yeah, I because in times of lockdown, I used to plan my days like from 10 o'clock to 12. I'm going to do a little workout, and then I'm going to practice the guitar, and then I'm going to write a song. But um, sometimes when I tell myself, okay, it's 3 o'clock and now I have 2 hours to write a song, um, yeah, it doesn't work for me. I know a lot of people who can write a song in a small amount of time and it works very good, but for me it just doesn't work most of the time. When yeah, when the inspiration comes or something, and it works the best for me when it just pops in, and I have the time to write a song. But it doesn't work for me that well to say, okay, 10 o'clock, I'm going to write a song in 2 hours now.
Yeah. And do you write like songs in the studio, or do you just do it at your kitchen table, or where do you write them usually?
Most of the times at this place where I'm sitting now, it's my attic at my parents' home, and I have all my guitars right here and my computer and a few synthesizers, and this is the place where I work out my songs. And yeah, so imagine I have a lot of voice notes in this very iPhone, and I'm going to sit down at this place and scroll through my voice notes, and I think, oh yeah, this is a kind of interesting idea, and then I get my guitar and work it out and play it and record it all in the computer and work the whole arrangement out.
Yeah. So do you mostly start with lyrics or a melody or chords, or is it just really like the guitar and just doing something?
Yeah, I never start with lyrics. No. I'm because I think that's because I'm a guitar guy. I'm an instrument guy. I start with a guitar thing or an interesting sound, and that inspires me to come up with lyrics or something. So I never start with lyrics, but I know also a lot of people that works for really well. But because I'm an instrumental guy, I think I never start with lyrics, because it's also uh, when I start with music, I can decide where the lyrics where I can place the lyrics. So when I have a lyric, it's for in my head it's already set up. So because the lyric has a rhythm, there's no place for a crazy guitar thing
Yeah.
or so anymore. So but that's all how it works for me. I know a lot of people would don't interpret it like that, but for me it's that's the way to start with an instrumental thing.
Yeah. And what's next then? So you have your guitar, you're playing a thing, you maybe like something you play. Could you like describe this writing process in detail? How does it go?
How I do it most of the time is, so when I start with a guitar thing, I think, okay, this chordal thing is more more a verse. It isn't catchy enough to be a chorus, so I start recording it. So I decide the BPM, and I record it in Logic Pro. It's a recording software most of the people might know, and I record it, and I put that chordal thing in a loop, and I start making up a melody, because that's also an interesting thing. I can sit down with the guitar, and maybe it's a really difficult guitar part, um, and it's very difficult to sing over. And when you record it, you have all the freedom to make up a melody you like. So I also have a lot of songs I recorded, and afterwards it's very difficult to play it live because I can't play the guitar part because it's too difficult to sing over. So to keep all the space open for a melody, I like to record the instrumental first, and then like so
Improvise.
that went very well.
Yeah.
Do a little improvisation over the music, so that so there's all the space left for a melody. So that's how I like to do it.
Yeah, and lyrics come last then, or
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, most of the time the arrangement and the melody are there, and then when that sounds the way I like, I'm getting inspiration from that sound of that arrangement, and I think, okay, so I know a story to tell about in that kind of vibe. So most of the time the lyrics are the last thing.
yeah. And where do you pull your inspiration from? How do you know what to write about?
Yeah. That it depends, because now we're a lot of times at home, so there's not a lot of things I experience. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
loneliness and that kind of stuff. So I already wrote a lot of uh, quarantine kind of songs, but it depends. When I'm it can be something. For example, I travel a lot of in the train, so you see a lot of crazy people sometimes in the train. So I start making up stories like what's this person going, and where does this person come from, and sometimes I make up stories like yeah, like fairy tales or something.
Oh,
But when I'm experiencing a lot of emotions myself, because I last year I had a breakup, so that's a thing that's a lot of in my head right there, so that needs to come out. So then that's the thing I write a lot of songs about. So it depends. But the first example is more when there's not a lot of things going on. I try to make up stories.
Yeah.
That's also a way, I think. But I like what I like the most about the last example. So uh, I think the people who listen to that kind of songs also feel that's yeah, a real story and a real emotion to it. So I like the last thing the most. But sometimes uh, life is going good and there are not a lot of interesting songs to tell about. So and you want to keep writing. So then it's also a creative thing, I think, to make up fun stories.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what do you think is the hardest part about songwriting?
The hardest part about songwriting is yourself, because I think you're all when you're a songwriter, you have a lot of inspirational artists where you look up to, and you want to make something like them, as good as they write a song. And I think that's the most hard part, to be really critical to yourself. And at a certain point, you have to have that moment from like, okay, this is it. It won't get any better. I have to accept that this is my thing, uh, and that's it. So I think you're really critical as a musician and a writer. So that's the most hard thing to deal with, because uh, there has to be a certain point you say, okay, this is it. It won't be get any better than this. So I have to be happy with what I am I've just made. So I think that's a hard thing.
Yeah, maybe because you also want like everything you know in one song, like all the good
Yeah,
things in one song, but that doesn't like always work, I think.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Do you have writer's block sometimes?
yeah. I have right now. I tried to write a song last week, and it just, because there is not a lot of happening right now in life.
Yeah.
And I already wrote a lot of isolated quarantine kind of songs, and that bores me right now. So I want to write something real and something pure, but there's not a lot of things happening. So that's for me kind of hard to um, yeah, to make something. So I I have a lot of instrumental arrangements made, but there's, yeah, the lyrics are the hardest thing, because you have to write down a story, what's going on in your life right now, and there's not a lot of going on in my life right now, so that's kind of difficult.
Yeah. Um, what do you think is your best song? The best song you wrote yourself?
The best song I've written so far. Mm, mm, mm. It's difficult to say, to tell about yourself,
It's like
but I
choosing
think
between your own children.
I I think it's a song on my first ever EP. It's called The Outside, and it's not the most, like, production wise the best song, or melody wise the best song, but I think for me it's the best song because it's the most honest song I ever wrote. So I think that's why it's for me the best song I wrote, because I'm not a guy who's talking a lot about his emotions, but I do it in songs more lately. So that was, I think, the first song I really uh, put a real emotion to it, I think. So
Yeah.
I think that's for me the best song I've ever written so far.
Cool. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this week is International Teach Music Week, a week
Yeah.
dedicated to the importance of music education. Also mentioned was that you are a music teacher at a high school.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell something about that?
Yeah, crazy times to be a teacher and also to be a kid in high school, because here in the Netherlands we're in lockdown, and the kids are the school where I teach are just started at school again last week, but the classes are in half, split in two halves. So the one half um, got taught in school, and the other half is behind their screens at home. And next week they switch around. So it's difficult times, especially to educate music, because um, music for me is experiencing and experimenting, and they have to. They can be close to each other in the classroom right now, so there isn't space to or get a guitar of jump behind the drum kit and just experiment and experience musical instruments. So that's kind of difficult right now. But most of the time, it's really fun to be a music teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the kind of things you learn, you teach?
Um, because the children are just coming from primary school, I want to yeah experience let them experience music and several instruments. So maybe and to make them enthusiastic about uh, musical instruments, so they might join guitar lessons or piano lessons or something, just to introduce them to this is a musical world, and this is also a thing, also a path you can travel in life to go that kind of stuff. So to make them enthusiastic about uh, musical instruments and let them experience how it feels to play it, and uh, I hope some of them like it very much and they're going to do something in music.
Yeah, that would be cool. Um, have you had music lessons yourself when you were younger, or maybe now?
Yeah, I as I mentioned, I played the guitar a long time. I joined guitar lessons since I was 7. So from then I had music lessons on guitar. But on high school I also had music lessons. And later when I was 17, 16, 17, I went to another school and they had a school band. So I joined the
Oh.
school band with. It was a school big band, and they had horns and guitars and drums, and it was amazing for a guy who likes music and wanted to do something later in music. So that was very cool.
Yeah. What's the most important thing you think you learned during those music lessons?
The most important thing, uh, I remember my music teacher told me, because I had to make a decision because I was in my last year, and I had to make a decision if I wanted to study music or something else. And he told me, um, when you don't choose a musical study after high school, it doesn't mean you have to quit music forever. You can also do yeah. What you are doing right now?
Yeah.
You study a communication study and play music. Besides that,
Yeah.
so never let that decision, uh, yeah, be that funest for your future. So that was a really eye opener for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided, because I wanted to study guitar at first. So that what he told me right there made me choose. Okay, I'm going to be a music educator, because uh, then I can inspire a lot of young people, but I also can still make my own music and develop myself to be a better musician.
Yeah. So you have like two sides of music,
Yeah,
like both now. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. I have two like personal questions about things I get stuck with when writing music.
Mm-hmm.
First, how do you build a song around a great hook? So, for example, I've written like a thing on my piano, like a melody thing, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, but how can I like make a song out of this? How do I build a song around it?
So you have a hook melody and you want to write a whole song around
Yeah.
that. All right, yeah, that's a difficult one. um, yeah, when you have a hook melody, just the melody, I'm going to sit with, in my case, with the guitar, and I'm singing that melody, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of chords are sound great, because the chords the chords really decide if the melody is going to sound the way you like it, because the chords are the context, and your hook melody is like a word, and you're missing the rest of the sentence. So the chords are really the sentence of the song. So they are the context. So when you have a hook melody, um, I'm going to get a guitar and play the chords, and I think, okay, this kind of chords sound good. And what I'm doing is I'm going to record that chords, and I'm going to record that melody in my computer, so I can build it all out. So maybe after that kind of hook melody thing, I want to go back to a verse, and maybe because you want to keep that magic around that hook melody, you want to change the chords for the verse, so the hook melody and the hook chords stay more unique and stay more themselves. So yeah, that's how I would do it if I would get a really good hook melody in my head.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And another one, how do I stop my songs from, like, especially melodies, from sounding cheesy? Like when I write something and think, oh, I've heard this 1,000 times already.
Mm. Yeah, that's difficult as well. Um, do you mean like you wrote a melody and you think this melody is a cheesy melody, or do you mean I've written a melody with words and that's just all kind of cheesy?
Well, like only the melody, so only the instrument, not even the lyrics.
Okay, yeah. So I think when you're listening to a lot of your music yourself, uh, you get a lot of inspired by really good melodies. Because melodies. No. Okay, let's start it over. Because a good melody for you isn't a good melody for me, and I think you get inspired by the music you listen, and for you, that's the best music ever existed on this whole planet. So if the melody you wrote is a bit kind of that's just how you got inspired and how you think that melody should sound. And I think um, if it feels cheesy for you, then you can change it. You can change one note, or you can change the sound of the melody, because it's just a melody. And if you think, okay, it is cheesy, it needs to be a little more brutal or something, you can record it with a distortion-esque guitar or a synthesizer or something and make it a little less cheesy. Or as I mentioned in the question before, change the chords so the melody sounds different when you change the chords. That's also a way you can do that. But I think because I wrote a lot of songs lately that are lyrical, little bit cheesy, and I thought, man, it's too direct and it's too cheesy. But I think if it's coming straight out of your to make it cheesy as well, out of your heart, it's and it sounds good for you, then just be okay with that. And it doesn't matter if other people think it's a cheesy song or a cheesy melody. But if you standing for 100% behind that melody or that lyric, it's okay because you like it, and that's all that matters, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so last but maybe the most important question: what tips could you give to beginning songwriters who want to make their own song?
Yeah, that's also a good question. How because there are a few kids in high school that want to write their own songs, and what I tell them to do first is, if you play an instrument, because you don't have, that's a really important thing. People should know that you haven't be able to, so you don't have to play an instrument to write a song. But if you do play an instrument and you want to write a song, just play a song you like lately, an Ed Sheeran song, for example, and go away with Ed Sheeran's lyrics and write your own lyrics on that song. I think that's a really good starting point, because when you're just starting, it can be a little bit chaotic, because okay, I have to write something out of nothing, so there has to be something to work with. So what I like to do is to start with is to write lyrics on an existing song or melody. Um, I think that's a great starting point, and after that, to make it to go next level, you can also decide to only get the chords from the existing song and change the melody and the lyrics.
Yeah.
So you can build it up like that.
Yeah, cool. Great advice. So yeah, thank you very much for all your input and all your advice. And
You're welcome.
about your music, you're gonna drop a new single soon.
Yeah, I'm going to release a new song in 2 weeks, and I'm really excited about it because we went to the a real professional studio to record a song. Because I also recorded all my songs at this place, but now we went to the studio and it's going to sound so good. So I'm really excited.
Exciting, exciting. We will
Yeah.
see.